outstanding. I know Google has been working very hard in bringing technology into the schools. Uh, just one last thing I wanted to talk with you. Could we talk a few minutes about cyberbullying? I know that that was an issue that had been raised several times over the years. And has there been any forward movement or anything that you've heard recently over the summer about cyberbullying and about issues related to student and student interactions?
So this is kind of an interesting topic this summer because of the case of Jessie Slaughter, which is not her real name. She was an 11-year-old girl who posted videos on YouTube that said they're very profane, and they were almost threatening. At certain times, she would say, I've got a Glock this in one hand and a Glock that in one hand. I'm going to put them in your mouth and make a brain slushy was one of the things that she said. They were very graphic and very profane. Well, there is a group on the internet called 4chan. It's the number 4, CHAN.org. I don't recommend you go there. 4chan is, well, I don't want to call them bullies, but they're a bit of a cyber army. And once they found out that this was going on, it just became the funniest thing to them that they began to harass this girl. They found her phone number, they figured out who she was, where she lived. They're very cyber sleuthing in that respect. Well, then another video comes along, and the girl's father is in the background, and he's screaming at all of these folks that are harassing him, talking about how he backtraced it and knows who they are, which of course was pure nonsense. So the harassment got even worse, to the point where her cyber reputation is marred for the rest of her life. When she goes off to college, and that recruiter Googles her real name, which I've forgotten now, they will find the CNN story and the Good Morning America story about her transgressions online at age 11. So I think that speaks to the cyberbullying that's happening from anonymous internet sources, and the need for parental supervision, and the need for parents to really be, in terms of, we want to talk about maximizing student potential, right? Kids are kids, and they need fences. So we need to be savvy enough ourselves,
Right.
So that, and perhaps that's something that Ed 101 needs to discuss is offering this level of training to parents.
I agree.
How really to understand what your kids are doing online. Simple things like switching to OpenDNS for your DNS server. OpenDNS is a free DNS hosting service that could help speed up your DNS. Speed your internet up, because DNS is what translates a word URL into the numbers, into the IP address that corresponds to the server.
Right.
OpenDNS, you change one setting on your router, you put in 2 different DNS servers, and immediately you get free content filtering. So you can block out pornography sites, you can block out this site, you can put fences up, and I'm not necessarily advocating filtering so much as I'm advocating putting up fences so that it can provide opportunities to have those honest conversations with your kids.
Absolutely, and monitoring so you know where they're going and what their interests are. So even if it's not something profane or offensive, you could still guide them and talk with them about some of the things that they're finding out on the internet.
And there was a valedictorian speech, I want to say it was like the last week of June, that's made its way around the web. And I can't recall where she graduated from. I don't guess it matters. But she blasts her educational history. She says, in essence, I have learned to effectively regurgitate exactly what was taught to me and then put that back on a test. And that's just an absolute travesty of education.
Chris, I wanted to talk a minute or two about EdCamp. I know there's been several throughout the United States. We've been talking about having one here in South Carolina. Could you share with the viewers a little more about what EdCamp is and what its purposes are?
EdCamp is an interesting idea. It actually started as something called Bar Camp, where folks would just get together at a bar and they would have conversations about whatever interested them in terms of technology. Well, then there became something called WordCamp, which were specifically leveraged towards WordPress, which is a blogging software. So folks would get together and they would have conversations about WordPress. Perhaps you had a theme developer here that, I needed theme help. There was that help available. Well, EdCamp has taken a very similar format. EdCamp is an unconference. So the way EdCamp would work theoretically, and just in full disclosure, this is something that we're just talking about. There are no definite plans in the works. We're thinking about this, and this is me thinking aloud more than anything. EdCamp is an unconference, and it's self-directed professional development. So let's say someone were interested. They would sign up. It would be, say, on a Saturday, and it would be, say, let's say 9 to 3, for example. They would show up at 9 o'clock, and they would have about an hour to determine what it was they either wanted to present on or they wanted to go to a session on. Folks that wanted to present would simply place, let's say, an index card in a spot for a time and a room. So folks decide they want to present on something. I decide I want to go to some session that's been presented on. You have a few minutes of opening remarks, and then the crowd-sourced who's going to present on what and who's going to go to what begins. There is a rule of EdCamp called the rule of 2 feet. If you are unhappy in a session or you don't feel like you're getting out of a session what you want to, you are encouraged to get up and move to another session or find somewhere in a hallway to have conversations with. There's often a back channel that happens through Twitter or through chat or somewhere. But folks come and it's free. Sometimes there's a sponsor for maybe a coffee and a t-shirt, or maybe there's lunch involved or something along those lines. So there's logistics in that respect. And sometimes it's done at a school, sometimes at a conference center. It depends on the level of conference or the level of sponsor monies. But the point is, it's self-directed professional development that folks can come to and learn about whatever they want to learn about or present on something that interests them.
Well, that's fascinating. It's very exciting. Great opportunity for people to connect and network. We're really looking forward to moving something like that forward here in South Carolina and in other places around the country. And we're really looking forward to that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I'm looking forward to having you on again in regular updates on technology and education, and just really, really appreciate your time, Chris, and look forward to working with you more in the future.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Chris. Bye-bye.